Hi, welcome to the Outdoor Laboratory Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Capo, and today's episode is going to be about my river experience on the Colorado River. Now, I've had some river experiences before. I was a river guide back east on a river called the Hiawassee, and I also did some portions of the Ocoee. I've also rafted on the Pigeon River, on the Nantahala River, and a couple small creeks back east. And these rivers back east are completely different than what I was given with the Colorado River. The rivers back east are very narrow and very technical. We have small boats so that we can turn and maneuver ourselves through these tight rapids, and it's a lot of fun. I've taken some whitewater rescue courses, and that was on rivers back east, these narrow rivers. So coming out west, I was completely out of my element. The rivers out here, at least the Colorado River in particular, is wide. It is the widest river I've ever seen or ever been on. And the flow of this river is so tremendous. There's so much water moving through this place, and it behaves differently. In fact, there's a different classification system. The Grand Canyon has classes 1 through 10 of rapids, and back east it's like 1 through 5 or 1 through 6. Like, it's not the same. The water literally behaves different, and because of that, I was completely out of my element. When we let off on the first mile, I was at first in awe at the beauty of the place. I was surrounded by rock wall, but I was also kind of scared. I was not expecting this to be the river experience that we were going to have. It was an amazing river experience, and it was one that humbled me. And I think because of that, because I was out of my element, I was really able to grow and really able to ask myself these questions, because I was experiencing the river at its rawest form, and this river trip was something that I'm always going to look back on and think about. And I hope that this podcast can get some of the ideas that I learned on that river trip out. So on this river trip, we had 4 boats in total. We had 3 rowboats and 1 6-person raft boat. And these boats were humongous, okay? The rowboats were bigger than any boat I've seen. And they were still the NRS, like, inflatable boats that I'm all used to, except they're just behemoths. And they also had these frames on them. I had never been on a boat with a frame on it, at least an inflatable boat. I was taken aback. I was like, this is armor for your boat, man. Like, this is exactly what you need if you want to go through these rapids. Like, this is amazing. And there was these humongous posts holding these big oars, and it just like went through the water, no problem. And I was really taken aback at these big, humongous boats. And the 6-person raft, it was great that we had one. It made me really feel some type of familiarity with my river experience, because that's what I'm used to back east. We don't use oar boats, we use 6-person rafts. We have people, and it was just a big one. It was a humongous 6-person raft, and it was really fun to be on the rapids in that 6-person raft, and you guys will hear more about that. So the camping situation was thebomb.com, guys. So we camped on the banks of the Colorado River, of course, because you are like a mile-high rock on each side of you. You're not going to like be away from the river. You're going to be right next to the river. And so we're camping on these banks. And on these banks, we are using these, probably the most comfortable piece of gear I've discovered out here in the West, called a Paco pad, okay? Paco pad is used for the raft, for your cushion, for your tush, and it's also used to rest. So it's like a raft rest combo, It's a cushion mattress pad, basically, that's waterproof, and it's amazing. It literally is one of the best nights of sleep I've ever had outside. And also, we didn't bring any tents. We don't got no time for that, okay? What we had time for was just setting out the Paco pad, putting your blanket on yourself, and laying out under the stars. It was cowboy camping at its finest, and we're doing it with our buddies. I really loved waking up in the morning and getting my friends saying good morning or their cries for coffee. You know, I loved it. I loved it. It was a bonding experience and I really appreciated it. And so these banks are these beautiful places that you can also explore during the daytime. These campsites are amazing. You can go fishing. We tried that, didn't catch any fish. Was fun though. There's things that you can just visit on these banks and it's really an amazing experience just to camp out. Now, the food situation. All right. I just want to shout out to Emily, who was our resident director for the Grand Canyon semester. She hooked it up every trip, every time that she had to cook or that we had to cook or there had to be food provided. She provided the bomb food. She provided all types of food I'd never had outside. Okay. On this experience, you know what we had for breakfast? We had things like pancakes, eggs, bacon, toast, coffee, the most important, coffee. And for lunches, we kept it simple, but effective. We would have build your own sandwiches on the side of the beach. And we always had the bread, the dead, you know, like the meat, the turkey, the stuff like that, and the spread, like the condiments, the veggies. We always had to make sure we had that. We got our basic food groups for lunch, you know, and it kept us going. We also had potato chips, only the crispiest kind. They were amazing. And for dinner, we had things like pasta, curry. Yes, curry. Yes. Burgers. Chef Emily was chefing it up, guys, okay? She did not play out there on the river. The food was amazing. And I do recommend that if you do go, just eat like a king, okay? Eat like a king. You need it. You deserve it. You're on the river. And you know, when you eat food, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. There's business to be done 4 to 6 hours later. And it was honestly an experience on the river. I came up with a riddle. I wrote it down here. It says, to soil the soil with our bodies' toils would only lead the land to spoil. Now, to put that in layman's terms, we did not leave the poop in the banks. We took it with us. How did we take it with us, you ask? With a groover. What is a groover, you ask? Only the highest tech equipment ever known to man for sanitary poopness in the woods. The groover is an ammo can. Yup, you heard it. Old school World War II pooping in the bucket. That's what we were doing. And it was amazing. But we had the bougie toilet seat add-on. So like we had a toilet seat. It was honestly really great. It was a great commode. But if you want to do the groover in its truest fashion, you have to do it without the toilet seat. That's why it's called the groover, because it leaves you, like you put your cheek to the metal, you know? It leaves you with grooved glutes. Yep, that's why it's called the groover. That's just a fun fact. So yeah, honestly, pooping on the river, fine, easy, no problem. Just poop in a bucket. Have a company clean it out after. We didn't have to clean it up, thank the Lord. Now, just going through my notes here, I want to say that these experiences are ways to not only have a great time, not only pursue your interests, but also to learn a lot of things, to learn hard skills. You know, I've been on countless rock climbing trips where I couldn't get something in class and I got it on the trip, you know, and this is how this river trip worked. I learned a very valuable skill that every rafter needs to know. I learned how to patch a boat. Yes, we had a situation, okay? We were like, I think on our third day, we're just cruising down the flat water. At this point, we decided to motor up, and our motor broke and stuff like that. So we were getting a tow from one of our buddies that we had met on the river, and they were towing us for a good while. Now, the weight of all of our boats being towed on this one D-ring, now there was multiple D-rings, but this one D-ring, I just looked at it a couple times and I knew it was taking a beating, you know? And I was just sitting there, relaxing, soaking in the sun, drinking a LaCroix, the staple of beverage on the river. And I hear a rip, And then I hear a and I'm like, that's not a good sound. So you know what I did? I looked and I saw this D-ring popped off this pen-sized hole, like a pen. Like maybe, all right, not a pin, maybe like a pen. Like ballpoint pen. Maybe like not even a centimeter wide. I just see water coming out. Not water, I mean air coming out. And I'm like, no, we're gonna sink. And I did the best thing I knew what I could do. I plugged it. And I held my finger there and I stopped the air. But I did not think about the fact that I just designated myself to be the boat plugger for the rest of the day. So I was there, no longer soaking in the sun, but making sure that my comrades were not sinking. Making sure that my comrades were going to be floating down the river in proper fashion. So we make it to our destination. And when we get there, I'm not gonna lie, my finger's worn out. But the head guide made it a point to teach me and another student how to patch a boat correctly. And you know what? I learned how to do it. Because patching a boat isn't something that you do regularly, hopefully. Like, I hope you don't have to just do it for no reason. Patching a boat is something that happens, and you just need to know the skill when it does happen. And I'm glad that it happened when I had people who could supervise me and that I could learn how to do it. And now, I mean, I might mess up a little bit, but I got a good idea on how to do it, and I'll get it done. That's how this experience works. I didn't learn this in a classroom. I learned this doing it. I didn't learn this in a book. I learned this participating, learning it from a person who knew how to do it with my hand. I didn't debate about it. I learned it. I did it. And that's why these experiences are so amazing, because I got something else under my belt that I can say, hey, I know how to do that. And I didn't have to take 3 credits of courses to learn how. You know what? I took 3 credits of courses. I didn't even learn how to patch a boat. Riddle me that. Riddle me that. So, guys, the rapids in this river scared me. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. These rapids were like two-story houses. Now, I might be exaggerating, but that's how I remember it. And if I am exaggerating, it's not by that much. Like, these were humongous waves. And I was in the 6-person raft because I knew I wanted to hit this rapid, not in the oar boat, but in the rafted, in the paddle raft. And so I look at these rapids from a distance and my heart skips a beat and I get scared. The human side of me gets so scared. But the rafter in me is like, all right, all forward. Like, let's hit this rapid. And we go deep into this rapid, fast into this rapid, hard into this rapid. And you know what? We come down and get shot into this downward rapid. And now we're not just surrounded by the rock walls. We're surrounded by walls of water. And I'm looking up and I'm freaking out. And we get shot up and we're at the top of the rapid now. And I could look over and I see all these whoof, whoof. And I can just feel us getting swifted and turned and pulled and pushed. And the rapid turned sideways. And I could see in the distance this like wall of water forming, headed right for my side of the boat. That was no fun, because I was paying attention to the wall all the way over there. I wasn't paying attention to the wall that was like 5 feet in front of me, and I had let out a war cry because I was scared. So I'm to the back of the throat, just a bunch of water, gallons of water. I'm there swallowing the Mediterranean Sea, right? But I'm in a paddle boat, so I need to be paddling. I am the motor. I am how we get out of here. Me and 5 other people, plus the guide. And so I just was coughing up a storm, coughing up a rainstorm, and just paddling. 4 forward, 5 forward. It was not pleasing, because that other wall was still headed for me. And yes, it hit me hard. it was an amazing experience, to be honest. That one rapid, I did not think that we were gonna make it. I thought we were gonna at least like turn over a boat. But our guide had it under control, down packed. I commend him. I hope I can get him on the podcast. I commend him. He was a good raft guide. He got us good. He got us all splashed, all drenched, and not tip turned over. It was amazing. It was a great time. Now, on this trip, it's a pretty long trip. It was a 4 to 5 day trip. You can have 14-day trips down the Grand Canyon section of the Colorado. We did the Diamond Down section, but you can have a long trip. But we had a relatively short trip, 4 to 5 days. And on this section, there's so many destinations to stop at. We stopped at this one place called Travertine Falls where we took pictures. And there was rope ladders leading up to the waterfall. There was water literally gushing out of the earth. All around you. You can like put your hand in these holes. And then at the back of this slot canyon basically was this maybe 15-foot waterfall, maybe less. And it was just flowing amazing water. Right above it was the sun. And the sun was just glistening off the waterfall. And it was really beautiful. And it was in this thing that you would have never stopped if it wasn't on the map. Someone had to find it. It's in the back, tucked away. And it was a beautiful place for not just pictures, but just to chillax. It was great. And another place that we stopped at was called Surprise Canyon. It was this humongous canyon. Showed up, guess what? Out of surprise. Hence the name, Surprise Canyon. That thing came out of nowhere and it was so big. And we walked in it. We looked at the botany of the place. We talked about some vegetation that was there. It was a cool experience. I never suspected that there would be like a tributary right there or like a slot canyon right there. It came out of nowhere. And we even stopped at the infamous Separation Canyon, where if you listen to the last episode, John Wesley Powell and 3 of his crew members, at least, well, not John Wesley Powell, but 3 of his crew members were like, deuces, we're out. And guess what? Bodies weren't found. So, pretty infamous place. Now, while we were in these slot canyons, I couldn't help but think of the Colorado River and the Grand Canyon as a being. And by personifying the canyon, I kind of saw it as like a wound in the earth, like a big gash, and a pretty deep one. One that ran for generations. One that ran for years, because you could see it in the rock. You can tell history through time, through the rock. And you can see how deep this cut can go into the earth, and the scars that the rivers left behind, and the scars that the dams have left behind. And you can just see all of this history and all of this things that look painful. Honestly, the rock's bleeding water. Like, if you look at it as a being, it looks painful. It's a big cut, a big gash, a big wound. And the earth is exposed all down to its Vishnu shits. Like it's like down to the Vishnu shifts. Like it's exposed. And it's beautiful. And you know, it's broken. It's a cut. It's a wound. It's beautifully broken. The Grand Canyon, I felt like, was telling me a story. I feel like it was speaking, trying to say, hey, look at everything I've been through. Look at the past I've had. Look at me. Look at what I have to offer. Look at what I've gone through. And look at what people have done to me with the dams. Look at everything. Look. And when we were exiting, I remember on the 4th day when we were exiting the Grand Canyon, it was a pretty awesome experience. We're basically exiting the Colorado Plateau. So these mile-high walls shrunk to nothing, to banks and to flat fields and flat rock. And it was a great, awesome, cool transformation. But as soon as I left the Grand Canyon, I felt like there was a challenge or a question that it had asked me. And it was saying, you've seen all of my parts, all of my deep wounds, all of everything that I have to tell you, and all of the beauty that's there, and apply it now apply it to you. Now apply it to the short 21 years you've lived, all the valleys and mountains you've climbed, emotionally, physically, spiritually, everywhere, everybody who's hurt you, who's cut you super deep, everyone who's said that you're no good, all the situations that have held you down, or at least you feel like have held you down. Now look at who you are. Aren't you beautiful? Aren't you beautifully broken? That's what the Grand Canyon told me. Isn't that beautiful for a landscape to give you a lesson? To not have to watch a video and have a moral of the story, no. No, you literally are in the Grand Canyon, a place that science tells you can't speak, spoke. You know? Think about that. That's what these outdoor experiences do. They make you challenge your own self. They ask you questions. There's questions to be had all over. Answers to be found all over. You just have to go out there and get them. I feel like when it comes to these experiences, they're taken for granted, because the Colorado River is a casualty of progress. And it's sad. The Colorado River is no longer this untamed river, this wild place. There's 15 dams on the river. The river is being choked. And it's sad, because it kind of knows it's being choked. I was there, it told me. I mean, that sounds kind of crazy, but I felt it. It felt like a solemn place. And it was really sad to see like the dam sites and look at where the dam is in the rock, and you just see what, if you look at the Grand Canyon as a being, look at the Colorado Plateau as a being, look at the earth as a being, it looks like it's bleeding, like it's so sad. And like I said, it's a casualty of progress, because we've decided to civilize this desert where there's no water incorrectly. We had a guy come out here, do it correctly. Tell us how to do it correctly. Do it incorrectly. We have 15 dams on the river, stifling water to cities, you know? And you know what these dams are doing? The banks that I was able to camp on are getting destroyed. But who cares that I can't camp on these banks, guys? That's the least of my worries. These banks have cultural significance. Some of these banks have Native American artifacts that are being washed away. People's cultures are being washed away because we've decided to harness this river. The dam holds back sediment, and the river, of course, erodes sediment. So without this replenishment of sediment that happens with natural flooding that the Colorado River experiences, these banks are just eroding. And these dams are holding back sediments that need to be put back on the banks, and we just aren't doing it. We're putting natural floods in with dam flooding. Yeah. Well, it's not working. And you know what? We've known this is an issue for a long time, because in the 1900s, you know what we did? We saw that the banks were eroding. Let's plant tamarisk. Yeah, that sounds super smart. Let's plant an invasive species in a place where it doesn't exist. And now this thing doesn't have any predators. It took over all of the native species. All of the native animals that rely on these native species of plants and vegetation can't really survive without them. And it's sad. It's sad. Because we can't protect this place. Because at the end of the day, greed is going to be the thing that works, and greed is going to be the thing that happens, because funding's getting cut for all of this for all these projects. Nobody's trying to help out. Except the people who are, except the small people who are. Nobody really knows about these dams and all the things. They're just happy that it's bringing them water and electricity and all of that goodness and all that stuff. Like, they're just happy about that. But they're not really seeing the repercussions that's happening to this place that's to them so far away that they don't care about it. They have no connection to it. And that's what the Colorado River needs. The Colorado River needs advocates. People who can say, hey, that's enough. But the Colorado River doesn't only need advocates, it needs lovers. You know what I mean? The Colorado River needs some lovers. It needs people who just say, I love you. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to stand for you. And it does. It has a bunch of people who love it. It has river rafters, river runners. It has fishermen who love the river. Native Americans who love the river. People, conservationists who love the river. But it needs more. It needs to be more loved than it is now, because right now it's being destroyed. I think the Grand Canyon has something to tell everyone. And not just the Grand Canyon, but any outdoor place. But specifically, the Colorado Plateau and the Grand Canyon have something to tell everyone. The river has something to say to you. You just have to be there to listen. So go out and experience it for yourself. Hope you guys have a great day.